Hey team, welcome to Inside the Movie Photographer with Jasin Boland. We've got part 2 today of 5 PhotoFolio with Justin Lubin, Hopper Stone, Hilary, Bronwyne, Gayle, Ron Henry, Matt Candy, and myself. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's hook straight into it. Cheers.
Who's next? Hopper.
Uh-oh.
Right. So here we go. Hopper
I'm loving
Stone.
this is great.
It's fun, right?
It's super fun.
It is fun.
Thanks
for doing this, Jason.
Oh, no, I love it. It's keeping myself entertained and it's keeping you guys entertained a little bit. And it's just sharing and educating a few people. And, there's a lot of interviews out there with people that spent 2 days on a film set. And, it's about time the truth was out there from people that are doing it. And innovators like Ron, you can be the person that you dream to be, and I think that we're all proof of that. Right, let's have a look at this one, Hopper Stone. This makes me laugh, this photo.
Oh, I think I know which one's coming up first. Yep, there we go. This is the first movie I did with Melissa McCarthy. I've done a total of 7 movies with her, and I've been sort of, I don't want to say pigeonholed, but I've become sort of known as I'm the comedy guy, right?
Yeah.
And there is something about, first of all, this was just one of the most fun days. It was, I don't know, a 3-page scene of, the dialogue was kind of interesting. I mean, it was dialogue that had to be done in terms of getting the movie going. But to make it just more interesting, it's also the day that her character gets her teeth whitened by her assistant. So everything is just funny when there is a mouth spreader, in there. And the guy off camera was a guy named Cedric Yarborough, who played sort of her bodyguard / and all he did was just yes and whatever was said. She would say something, he would go, yes, Michelle, or no, Michelle. And it was 3.5 hours of just unbelievable hilarity to the point where your abs are killing you because you're trying not to laugh and ruin the take. But this for me is just one of my favorite comedy photos, because comedy is just, it's its own trick to shooting.
That's hard. I think it's the hardest thing to shoot.
There's a thing to it because comedy is very subjective.
Sure.
Right? If something's badass, it's badass. If something's sad, it's sad. If something's funny, it depends who's looking at it, what your sense of humor is. It's a very hard thing to direct, and it's a hard thing to sort of find that moment. And working, and I've realized, 6 seasons on Modern Family, and then, 7 movies with Melissa McCarthy. And I've really been fortunate to get this education of just literally just watching the funniest people in the world do what they do. And it's really gratifying, but it's challenging because a lot of times it's, a lot of actors won't approve a photo like this. Melissa's a little more fearless about maybe looking a little goofy.
She's got great teeth.
Yeah. She does have amazing. She told me one of the things she really wants to do a toothpaste commercial. She really wants a toothpaste client.
Well, there you go.
She has amazing teeth. But it's finding that single moment in a funny sequence is the challenge that I love going into a movie. It's just one of my favorite things to do. So, and also it was my first movie with Melissa, and I didn't really know that we were striking up much of a relationship. I just kind of came in and did my job, and I didn't really talk to her very much. And then at the end of it, when she saw my photos at the wrap party, she just gave me a huge hug and she walked up to me and whispered in my ear, "We're never letting you go." And apparently she does that to people. Like her costumer who did Tammy, basically at the end of it, Melissa just went up to her at the wrap party and said, "Yes, you are now mine." She does that. She's like, "Yeah, you're mine now." And she's fiercely loyal.
Hey, Hopper, you got to you got to tell the story about how you guys first met.
Oh, well, Melissa.
Before I go on, yeah.
Well, I mean, the very
Before
very
that story. improv you
Oh,
studied.
the improv, yeah. So what happened was that this character is a character named Michelle Darnell, and so sort of a cross, kind of a Susie Orman, Deepak Chopra kind of character, about how to make more money. And so after I turned 40, you wouldn't know it now, I was the most negative person you would ever have the displeasure of meeting. I was just a horribly negative person. I hated everything. I hated my life. I was just very upset about everything, and I needed to do something to lighten up. So I thought, I'll take improv. And the Groundlings Theater is, a couple miles from where I live. So I started taking classes at the Groundlings. And one of the things they encourage you to do is go and see shows, lots and lots of shows. So in the main company at that time was Melissa and Kristen Wiig and her husband Ben, and Melissa's husband Ben. I mean, a lot of people that you've all seen, a lot came out of the Groundlings. So Michelle Darnell was one of her characters that she did during Groundlings show. So she'd come out on the stage. This guy named Damon Jones would introduce her. Now everybody, Michelle Darnell. And she'd come out and she'd give her a little spiel, and she'd walk into the audience and she would do crowd work. And she would say, who are you and where are you from and blah, blah, blah. And then she'd, kind of riff off of that. And then at the end, give you a butterscotch candy. And I was one of the people that she spoke to in the audience when I went to see her at that show. And I remember seeing this movie in the trades going, wow, I wonder if that's that character that she did at the Groundlings. So I went into pre-production and I had to do some photos for that. And I met her and I go, I'm one of the people that you spoke to in the audience at the Groundlings when she did that show. And the guy, Damon, who would introduce her, was one of the guest writers on that movie and also had a small part as the waiter. It's weird. Like it's all come very full circle. I've met a lot of Groundlings people sort of like through that. That's it, man. I
love that story. I wasn't going to let you walk away without telling that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know the story behind this one, so but you got to tell it because it's
So this is.
I love him. He's so
this
good.
So this was an independent movie called Lowdown. It was just a very stressful show in general. We were shooting in these really just dusty, flea-bitten hotels in Hollywood that basically had been condemned, and locations got them up to some level of standards so a film crew could shoot there. So we had Peter Dinklage for 3 days. And this was, height of Game of Thrones. And I'd never seen Game of Thrones, but I knew who Peter Dinklage was. So the shot in the movie was Pete just literally painting himself blue and sort of getting into character. The shot was the camera was outside the building over Elle Fanning's shoulder, looking through the window, sort of her point of view, watching all of this happen. I didn't really need that shot. I needed this shot. So I just went up to Pete. I'm like, hey, man, do you mind if I'm in the room? Can I just kind of shoot that? He goes, yeah, sure. I don't care. And I sat in the room. I'm just sitting against the wall. The window's above my head, so I'm not in the shot. And it was just me and Pete. No boom operator, no camera, no director, no lines, no nothing. And he's just doing his thing. And it was just 20 minutes. It was the only peaceful 20 minutes I got on this movie. And I love the shot. And actually in that previous one, what I did with Melissa, the boss, Pete was in that. So I whipped up a print and I gave it to him. And he was very, very touched. He really liked it. And it is one of my favorite just moments.
That's key though, isn't it? It's like not following around the camera department. It's
you're shooting your version. You're shooting what you see. You're shooting what serves the movie in single frames. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is that I tell the story of the director's storytelling. So and I like to give people a different point of view to what's in the films.
Hey, Hopper, what's that in the foreground? Is that like a weird peg leg?
Yeah, weird hat that he wore that he puts on in the end. It's like this sort of almost like a thing out of an Asian temple.
Oh,
he literally spent 20 minutes painting himself blue.
It's a stupa hat.
Oh, it was
Now I know how long my battery lasts in the camera.
Oh, there you go.
2 hours. So there you go.
There you
Anyone
go.
out there using a Nikon Z camera for their webcam?
Anyway, Jason, and that's the meaning of life that I cannot repeat ever again. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, Jason, you missed it. Sorry.
I could hear you all.
Curious about it, not knowing the business like you guys do. How much waiting around is there before you know that you need to be on set shooting?
Well, there's a lot of waiting around. And so, I mean, one of the key things, at least for me, everybody has their own approach, is I insist, like, watch the rehearsals, see what the scene is, see what it's going to look like. Because it's one thing to see how it's written and another thing to see what it actually looks like. And then once you sort of watch the rehearsals, you go, oh yeah, those are the shots I think that I'm going to sort of need. And I personally like to sort of I try to get as much as I can during the wide master shot. When you've got sort of what you need, then you go for what you want.
Okay.
You know, and always keeping in that balance of, am I in the way? Am I burning my time with the actor? Am I being noticed? You know, all that sort of stuff. It's a little bit of a dance.
Okay.
I have a phrase which is they don't pay me to take pictures, they pay me to wait.
Yes.
That's funny.
I do pictures for free. They pay me to sit around.
Yeah.
But
it really depends on the show,
sure.
I find.
Take to wait work for free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's a show where they're moving very quickly and they don't do a lot of takes, then you're constantly shooting. And if it's one where, they might do, many, many takes or many setups of the same, for the same scene, you can pretty much get what you need and then hang back and let them work.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, Modern Family, they shot so fast, so quickly. I mean, I showed, because ABC had a rule, they didn't want you to work more than 8 hours. I showed up at crew call because they were shooting within a half an hour. And, there was no coverage. They basically just shot the scene because the way the thing was shot. They never turned around and then went in for stuff. So, I mean, I got everything. I cover the whole thing in 8 hours.
So are you doing editing and stuff, or are you handing a card to somebody to do that, or how does that work on the back and the post?
Depends on the client. ABC has a very strict do not edit, do not touch, do not do anything to your coverage policy. For movies, no, I throw away probably 90% of what I shoot. I turn in a very lean select.
Do you do the photo, or just give it to them the raw the way it is?
Raw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I might set a little color correction so they have an idea, but there's a whole pipeline that takes care of that.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ron, I don't know about everyone else, but I don't like to sit around a lot. So there's always something to photograph. I'll go photograph sets that we've already shot or we're going to shoot. I'll shoot props. I'll go to the production office and shoot the staff. I'll do portraits with the caterer. I just, there's a lot of people that, love to have photos of themselves at work that never get it.
Yeah.
So, there's some slow moments, but between editing and just shooting something, and then Jason probably on the bigger, like the Marvel movies, there's plenty of props to shoot for toys, marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Justin knows for, marketing and licensing and all that. There's always something to shoot. So
I had that on
I like
Ghostbusters, a huge list of all that stuff I had to do. Yeah,
to
absolutely.
stay busy. I like to stay busy.
Yeah.
I do my edits. I enjoy doing that in between takes and
Likewise. Again, I also don't like the producers to see me sitting around. So
Right.
Oh
yeah, no. If I'm not shooting, I'm usually at my computer editing.
Yeah.
I go to lunch or to the bathroom with a camera around. I'm hanging off my side. It's like, what if someone sees me without a camera?
Right.
Now here we go. Snap,
right.
bang. Ooh.
So this is not from a movie. This is from my photojournalist days. This was during the war in Yugoslavia, in Slovenia. And the reason I included this was my first real honest to God like war movie. They're shooting live ammunition. Everybody's running around like massive, chaos kind of thing. And to this day, I have no idea where that coffin came from. It just kind of appeared out of nowhere. But this was the moment where I learned to just stop and let all the noise around me happen and just filter it out and look for the shot in the middle of all the chaos. I mean, like everybody, everybody, there were probably 5 or 6 other photographers on that road, and everybody went down, myself included, into that, corner down where the coffin is with a wide lens and force the perspective and, sort of use the lines to get up to there. And then I thought, all right, something different. Let's just take a second and step back and try and get, no pun intended, the bigger picture and distill it all down into a moment that makes people stop and look and go, oh, right. And this was it. This for me was just a real turning point as a photographer. This was 1991. So I've been a quote unquote professional photographer for about 3 years.
Wow.
And it's I wouldn't say it's necessarily the greatest photo in the world, but it's the one that was just a real turning point for me in terms of just stopping and telling the story. In a situation over which you have absolutely no control.
Yeah. I love the perspective of it up higher as opposed to low. You can see the other guy getting out of the APC, and it's real. I mean, it's just so much. I love shots like this because you just want to look around every inch of the frame.
The black and white. Love it, black and white as well.
Actually, color negative, but I preferred it in black and white. Because back in the PJ days, you just had to shoot color neg, so that way they had the choice of either one.
Was it
Hidden Figures, and this is just it's such a simple shot that just tells a complete story. I mean, there's really almost no explanation needed, and it's the movie I am just the most proud to be associated with on sort of all levels. And I mean, just the sea of white men in white shirts, all wearing the same tie, just all of that. And then Taraji just right there in the middle in that green dress, looking as intense and intently as all the guys around her, being an equal in this whole environment in which she is, and she's just fighting to be seen that way. And it's just one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite shots from that movie.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great.
It is.
Taraji's great to work with too.
Oh my God, she's amazing. Talk about someone who she can just turn it on and off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've all seen Hidden Figures, but there's, her moment where she comes running in from the rain and Kevin Costner goes, where have you been? And she loses it about how she has to run to a bathroom because there isn't a colored bathroom in the building and blah, blah, blah. Nobody will share a coffee pot with her. And I mean, by the time she was done with that, they go cut and everybody in the crew is just sitting there going, whatever, I'm not crying, you're crying. And then she would just kind of wipe her eyes and go, all right, how was that? And the director would give her some notes and, if you got one in me, or say, sure, let's just do it. I want to go home. And then she would just and she did it 8 times.
Wow.
And it was just
keep that emotion going.
Because she can't, but the thing is, she didn't keep it going. She'd stop it, take her notes, and then just turn it back on. And that's what was amazing. Elle Fanning was the same way in that movie, that indie movie that I did with Peter Dinklage. She could just turn on the waterworks and have this complete breakdown and then just kind of, smile and go, all right, well, how was that? And the director would go, well, if you got one more in, you go, okay. And then she would just turn it on. And I went up to her afterwards. I said, do you have any idea what a moneymaker you have right there being able to do that? Amazing.
Right. One of my favorite BTS shots of all time.
Thank you. And this is the same thing. Like, it's early in my career, and I like to think it's just sort of, it's the quintessential behind the scenes shot. It doesn't matter what movie it's from. It's graphic. It's, like Matt says, don't like to sit around doing nothing. And it's just a big old green screen day. And I was across the stage. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Totally.
And just kind of, found it. Actually, it's through this job that I met Justin Lubin.
Really?
I was working on this movie, and I think he was a Libra head tech. This guy, comes up. This was on the green screen unit. Comes and he goes, "You seem like a nice guy. My little cousin is getting into doing what you do. Would you talk to him?" And I said, what I say to everybody, I will talk to anybody who buys me a cup of coffee. And so
I bought you a pastrami. I got you a little more than that.
Yeah. Then we met up at the farmer's market, and his little cousin, all 6'3" of them, walks in, and it's Justin, and that's how we met.
No way! I've never heard that story. That's rad.
Yep. He had a relative who was a crew member on this very shoot.
No way. Ron, can Ron hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
my he's telling me I'm low. I just try to scramble.
That's what happened to me. My battery ran out.
I got to go up in here to plug it in somewhere. But yeah, I love what.
Oh, that's funny. You just missed out that Hopper was explaining that during this film he met Justin as Justin was getting into the industry and wanted to have a chat with Hopper, and they went to the farmer's market and had pastrami and coffee.
Oh,
yes.
amazing.
So that's rad.
Yeah, it's just how Hopper had met Justin on a movie. You know, I had met Justin on a TV pilot. I was a camera assistant and Justin was a set photographer, and we just kind of hit it off and started chatting. And I mean, I had reached out to a couple other unit photographers, and maybe 3 of them were kind of willing to help me out. The rest of them, no. So,
Really?
yeah, Justin was one of them. So we've been good friends ever since.
Who were the other 2?
Mark Fellman.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, and Zaid Rosenthal, who's retired now. So, yeah.
And Zaid was somebody who gave me some knowledge as well when it was around the same time with Hopper.
Yeah.
So
And the funniest thing is Mark, I mean, I was a loader on quite a few jobs that he was a unit photographer, and I would do his time card. So we just became good friends. And every time I'd see him, he'd try to convince me to not go into unit photography. And I had lunch with him about a year ago, and it was really nice. He said, "I'm so glad you didn't listen to me."
Wow, Mark had you do his time card? I never have the loader do my time card. You guys have enough stuff to do.
You know, I don't know if he let me or I just did it. You know, I was a nice guy.
I love the informality of this. Like we go in, we go out, we grab some
No, but
water.
that's easy. It's like
glasses. I love it.
go and grab some beers, go to the bathroom. All right, here we go. Oh, I love this shot. Boom.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac.
Cool.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
Suburbicon. A little behind the scenes, kicking it off with that.
Nice.
Yeah. I just loved the, you know, if you just kind of look at a glance, it looks like kind of a classic Hollywood still, with, you know, period piece, and then you notice that there's this piece of tech coming in through the ceiling. Yeah.
It's great juxtaposition of exactly what you said then, old school Hollywood and where the world's gone in the film industry.
Yeah,
awesome.
and Oscar's, he's an awesome actor, and he went for it, man. Like in the scene, he drinks a poison coffee and
Oh wow.
and you know jumps up and looks straight up at the camera, and then, you know, just starts having a reaction, and it was. I think we only did one take because he like completely destroyed the room.
Wow.
Yeah, he just went for it full throttle, and it was awesome.
Now, was that did you shoot that in black and white, or is that a conversion?
That's a conversion.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was digital. I shoot it with the intent to convert to black and white a lot for behind the scenes. It's just kind of how my brain sees it. But yeah, and for period stuff, it's particularly nice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thanks.
Nice.
Oh my god, I love that shot. And of course, it wasn't lit for that shot either. So
No. I mean, you can see the light
insane
there
light.
on the stand. You know, it was lit for the overhead.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So good. Oh, I love them.
There's another
Oh my
behind
God.
the scenes.
Wow.
Yeah, this was
What film is this?
This is from a movie called Lucy in the Sky. It was written and directed by Noah Hawley, who does Legion, the television series.
Oh yeah.
Natalie Portman.
Yeah, Natalie Portman. She plays an astronaut who returns from space and kind of spirals out, loses touch with reality and spirals out of control. It's loosely based on the story of the astronaut who drove across the country and like attempted a kidnapping of her lover.
Right. The diaper astronaut. Yes.
Yeah. That one. So it was loosely based on that, and it was a challenging shoot, but it was so much fun and so fascinating to work on, because a lot of the effects that might usually be done CGI, we did in camera, and it was we had a lot of obvious CGI stuff as well. But in this scene, she's doing a training exercise in the NASA swimming pool. So we shot at a facility with a large pool, and then we shot, in this warehouse to do the underwater stuff. And,
wow.
And so we've got her being guided up, and she's going to end up right by the camera, and then our prop lady is going to hand her a drill to work with. But it was, and also in the shot, there's like another camera going on a dolly going along the side, so they kind of like crisscross. It was pretty cool.
Oh, those divers must have been so uncomfortable wearing a wetsuit like that with all that gear in actual water.
Oh
my God, that looks so uncomfortable.
Every single scene was like a dance. Every single one. It was really cool.
Oh yeah, because of the
yeah, everything was very choreographed, and constantly they were coming up with like, hey, let's do this crazy lighting gag where like rocket ships come up across the walls, and Manny, our grip, would be like, okay, I got it, and they'd come up with something and make it work. It was like filmmaking in the way that kind of everyone wants filmmaking to be, I think.
Wow.
Like actually making something really cool and visually interesting. So,
hey, are you guys finding that everyone has a massive thirst for our behind the scenes shots now, not more than ever?
Yeah.
I love behind the scenes of my landscapes on a film set.
Oh, absolutely. No, and look, it's that's what I keep trying to explain to people when they go, why can't you just take something from the film? And I'm like, because you're not going to get anything but the film.
Yeah.
No, that's right. You're not going to get this. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Hilary, this is spectacular.
This is beautiful.
This one's also from Suburbicon. And Suburbicon had part of the plot was based on a true story of a suburban neighborhood in Pennsylvania, I believe, that in the 50s that had a African-American family move in, and there were riots by the other residents for like 10 days, and it was just crazy.
Yes.
And so in the film, the family moves in, and very gradually this crowd kind of builds each day, and it progresses through the film and then kind of erupts into this chaotic climax. And so here our actress is hanging her laundry, and I just loved how graceful and calm and poised and kind of proud she looked.
Yeah. And
in the midst of this, kind of horrible, disgusting hatred being thrown at her.
So
She's
very
proud.
powerful. Yeah, it's a powerful image.
It's just spectacular.
Did you crop
certainly is.
too, or is this in the camera crop? Because it's beautifully positioned right there, I think.
It's in the camera crop. I was there is actually one little up in the left-hand corner. I did have to edit out the matte box because the camera was shooting kind of more her eye level, and a little bit more of like a shot just on her.
Yeah.
And so I went for this like lower angle that incorporated the guys in the background too.
And it gives it a regal look too.
Yeah.
It's a real strong, powerful.
Yeah, it's not always an angle that, for actresses, a lot of them don't like to be shot from below. But I think that there's kind of times where it really, can add to it and make sense.
But even like the clouds up on the right, like just sort of add to just like everything just came together for that shot.
Yeah.
They did.
Like all your lines are just like chaotically perfect.
Oh.
Did you have polarizer on this, or is this just lucky sky?
No, just lucky sky. We shot it at Mesa something movie ranch. It's this like wide open space, and they built basically like a section of all the backyards of a subdivision. So there were like maybe 6 houses, and the backyards all meeting in the back with the fences, and it was just on the top of a mesa. So it was our own little subdivision.
It's awesome. It's rare to have clouds in Southern California too.
Yeah, we lucked out, man, with the weather for sure. It was gorgeous. But yeah, it's all pretty much exactly everything in camera.
Yeah.
Nice. That's incredible.
Oh, that is just spectacular.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, the team.
There you go.
Nice.
I feel like everyone's probably seen this this image once or twice.
Yeah,
I know, right?
It's spectacular.
Fierce females
in the press. This is from Bombshell, which was the story of Gretchen Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and Margot Robbie plays a fictional character who all work at Fox News and take down Roger Ailes. And this shot was, we did a scene in the elevator with the 3 women, and it's actually the only scene where all 3 of them are on camera together. So right off the bat, we knew that was going to be the day that we could get a publicity shot with the 3 of them. So it was shot with Lionsgate, and we had gone back and forth and discussed and scouted spots to do a little publicity setup. And it was kind of determined that we do it in the lobby area of the Fox offices, so that we had Roger's office in the background, and there was like a reception desk with a Fox News, sign. And so that was the plan. And we first shot the elevator scene, and I covered it, which was challenging because it's an elevator. It's really small. It did have flyaway walls, but we were shooting it mostly from the front. And it was because of the blocking and light, I couldn't get all 3 of them in focus in the same take because of depth of field. So I would just kind of alternate and follow who made sense. And then at the last minute, I said, look, it would be really great if we could get a shot of the 3 of them just lined up in the elevator. And so thankfully we had a really, really tight schedule on that show, but they were like, okay, if you think we need it, let's do it. And so we popped, I got the second to do it and took a couple of shots and looked at the camera, and I was like, oh, this is big. This is like the poster shot. And I showed it to Charlize, and she was like, that's the poster. And so then we're like emailing Lionsgate, and we're like, we got the shot. And they were like, well, you already did the setup. And we're like, well, we did a different setup. We're going to still do your setup, but we're telling you this is the setup. And they're like, well, we really want this other one. So, but it ended up being this. And so I'm really glad. It's one of those moments where if you see it and you think it's good, ask for it.
Yep.
But it's amazing.
Yes,
you have three actors who clearly just gave you. I mean, I know they're just standing there, but for those of us who understand what actors have to do, like, especially you can just see Charlize, especially. I mean, just gave you so much. Yeah. And a director and a first AD who clearly valued your input and said, "Well, if you think we need it, then we will do it."
Yeah, our first AD on that show was amazing. Her name was Betsy, and she's a legend, and I love her. And occasionally I would ask for things, and the first couple times she would like look at me like, because she was very schedule oriented, and she was she was awesome. Like you could ask her what time we were going to shoot a scene like 2 weeks from now, and she would know it down to the minute. It was so good. But I think initially I was like worried that I was going to mess up her schedule and that I wouldn't get a yes. And finally I guess she realized that I would get in and out of there pretty quickly. And Jay Roach is always really supportive, the director. And, I've worked with him 3 times. So if we kind of have we have the relationship where if I say like, Jay, I think this is important, like I can go to him with that. And he listens and
what I really like about this picture is I have not seen the movie, but I know the story of Gretchen and what's the other one's name?
Megan
Kelly. What I love about this picture is that every one of them is in character, giving you their look. Yeah. And what's great about the Margot Robbie shot is the way her hands are, like the nervousness in her hands.
Yeah.
Like no one would kind of see that, but you can see how she looks nervous about what's about to happen. So I just think it's something about actors. Like sometimes you just get a setup and they just don't care, but you can tell them they're all giving you their character in their standing there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, acting is like, if it was easy, everybody would do it. There's so many layers to just this. And they're not just standing there, they're acting. It's brilliant.
Great image. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, again, the juxtaposition between each one of them is like, can you have a juxtaposition with 3 subjects? Is that possible?
Sure.
You should know. You can?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, juxtaposition does not have to be 2.
3-way juxtaposition.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I was educated today.
Hey.
What's funny is I think initially just from being on set and trying to get moments and often sometimes you might shoot like a rehearsal and you realize later the actors got like the sides in their hand or in their back pocket or something. And so initially when I saw this, I thought, oh no, they've got their phones.
Yeah.
And then I realized that it's actually their props. And Gretchen Carlson, one of the ways that she was able to successfully take down Roger Ailes is because she started recording with her phone when she'd go into his office. And so like just the fact that Nicole is holding the phone and Charlize has Megan's phone, and then Margot has her Fox News employee badge. Like the props, I didn't even have to like ask for props. They just were already right there and ready to go. It was great.
Awesome. That's so amazing.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Foreground there.
Yeah, that's a beauty.
So this is also from Lucy in the Sky with Natalie. And so on that show, they did a lot of that like magical realism type of style stuff that I was talking about. And they used a lot of wacky lenses. They had like a cat eye lens, and they had a squishy lens that has like a flexible diaphragm that you can move the front and the back elements kind of tilt and shift style. And they did a lot of in the story when she would kind of have these flashbacks in and out of being in outer space, and the way they would kind of represent that is they would bring in this like super bright light that would just wash everything out and flare out the lenses. And so in order to kind of replicate that or speak to that in the stills, I started like playing around with lenses too. And so I got this lens that has the interior of it was like stripped out and then down to silver and then painted amber. So when it flares, it just bounces off of all of that interior element. And it flares orange, and it's a wild lens.
I want to go lens shopping with you. That's cool.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing because like a friend of a friend reached out and was like, "Hey, I have this guy that's trying to sell this lens. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "That's kind of crazy." And then I got this job, and I called him, and I was like, "Hey, man, I think I might actually like to buy that lens. Like, I think I can use that." And so it just kind of fell in my lap, and it was challenging to work with though because it's manual focus, of course, and it because it's such a strange element, like it's difficult to actually focus through it. It flares out so much, and so easily. And so I'm like sitting there trying to manually focus and like keep her in focus because it's such a shallow depth of field. And while also like working with handheld cameras around me, and like they're running around inside the laundry and I'm like running around inside the laundry too, but like also trying to focus on Natalie and make sure that she stays in the sweet spot on the lens while the flare is not like overcoming. But so it's challenging, but like I broke it out a couple times on the shoot, and I thought it was really, really cool. I don't know. I can't remember if they actually used any of these stills specifically in publicity, but I thought it lended something to the shot. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah, I love
it. I could use that every day.
Yeah. What is a cat eye lens? I've never heard of a cat eye lens.
The inner diaphragm, or the inner
the aperture,
iris, yeah, is instead of round is like cat eye shaped.
Ooh. Okay, that's gonna make for some interesting artifacts.
Yeah. So it looks a little odd. And this one is similarly, like it was rebuilt in a similar way. So I was like, oh, okay, this kind of seems like maybe it's what I mean, I showed it to our DP and Polly was like, that's not really what we're doing, but like, I like it.
Oh, come on.
I was like,
I'll make mine maybe.
Yeah, it's so great though. I did a movie last year where I played around with a lot of prisms and things on the back element of the lenses, similar because it was a very dreamy like style.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did another movie last summer that they were using a lot of rainbow effects, and I played around with that stuff too. It's fun to get to do that. Like,
totally.
You know, that makes our jobs, you know, that much more special and creative and exciting.
Yeah, years ago I did a kids horror movie, and I had a camera that had been converted to infrared, and I also had an array of lens babies. So I did all this really creepy black and white infrared stuff with lens babies on our creatures. It was really, I mean, you know, I think they actually used one or two, but most of it's just to kind of keep me amused.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. That is so cool. I knew that.
That was spectacular.
Yeah. I didn't even plan to leave that till last either. It just like happened.
Worked.
Yeah, I wish I would have brought better stuff. Jeez.
Yeah, I guess maybe I could have found 5 different ones.
I felt that way with all of y'all. I was like, oh.
I'm sure you guys are going to go, so I should not. I'm happy to just leave it with you guys. Do you want me to do one, or do you guys want to go home?
Oh, throw it up.
Yeah, go throw it up there, Jace. Come on.
Okay. Right. Well, far out, Hilary. That was awesome. You guys are amazing. So, all right. I can't keep doing 5 PhotoFolio. I'm going to run out of photos to put up of my own. I'm going to have to start
taking some more.
I don't really have much of a back catalogue. Right. So, this is
awesome.
This is from the latest James Bond and of the DB5. And I was running 5 cameras on this. So this is, I put a Nikon D750 on the underneath, mounted underneath the Libra on the crane with 35mm. And then over to the left, I'm there shooting with my Pocket Wizards. And then I had another camera mounted up on the roof. And then I had another one over to the left and another one behind it. Doing BTS. It was pretty rad. And I don't know if you guys know, but I like doing my rig shots. And my theory is if you can have 1 camera out, you might as well have 5. And you never know what you get. It's like how many times you look at throwing a camera on a crane and it's just too difficult. But
every time, actually, I've never successfully gotten a camera onto a crane because they always go, yeah, come back when we're about to shoot. And they go, no time. Every time.
Well, there you go. Well, I have all my rigs already set up to go, and it literally takes the grips, maybe a minute to put it on, and then they'll be taking it up in the air, and I'm still changing settings and exposure and stuff like that. And I'll be going up. But anyway, so I do like. I wanted to share that one because although it looks very isolated, there's a mess. I should have had the BTS of it actually. There's a whole other thing going on around it, including 5 more of my cameras. So there you go.
Yep, classic.
Love it.
Please.
Well, this was on my way walking to the car park because I thought the day was over.
So did Charlene.
Because the edge arm was doing the shot on a crane and a Libra head, and it's like, it's going to be in my way. And so I've got my gear. Lucky, I had my BlackRapid strap on, so I still got my gear. And I'm walking to the car, and the car park is actually in the middle of the desert. We all had to have 4-wheel drives on this film. And so I'm walking to it, and I look around and go, oh, hold on, there is a gap. Hold on, I better have a go. So I stopped, pulled out my 70 to 200, threw it on the 200, and everything just fell into place. And I use this as an example for people for me, I photograph the director's performance. I a lot of times don't even bother with rehearsals, or I'm not even on the set during rehearsal because I want that performance that the actor is giving the director. And you know what it's like. As soon as cut's called, the shoulders drop, the energy leaves, and you just can't beat capturing an image that the actor is giving everything for. Anyway, so that's my theory. More on Mad Max later. Sorry?
Yeah. I have a question on that. This is I bought this movie so I could watch behind the scenes of it. And it's pretty fascinating. I guess the elements were really tough with the cold. It was really cold, as well as a lot of sand in the air as well when you're shooting this. Was this one of your hardest movies that you probably felt like you shot?
There was many reasons why this was hard, and it was hard mentally and it was hard physically. As most of you guys know, I like the physical ones anyway. I struggled on days on this film, and I was able to throw that energy into my images, and I didn't let it beat me. I took it in and I pushed it straight out to the atmosphere here, and I was able to get some really good shots of this because of the hardships that I was going through on the film. So I was really quite fortunate, and it's as we've been saying, it's like success comes from failure, and my failures on this, I was able to mold it into something else. So I was really kind of stoked, and you could walk away, but no, and I was able to grade the images too, and help with the post-apocalyptic world, and to the point where they coloured the film to match my stills, but then they saturated it. And in the editing suite at Kennedy Miller, they had 400 or 500 photographs of mine that were all through the offices, and the people was ringing me up going, oh my God, I just went in there. It's like an exhibition. It was just insane. So it was really cool. And I ended up getting a 1-line credit out of it, which as photographers, you guys know that getting a 1-line credit on a film is, it's not really very known. So yeah, I'm kind of, yes, Ron, it was very hard, but
the other thing too, Jason, was the crew having a hard time as well? Was it the energy kind of odd shooting that?
No, not at all. The shoot itself was amazing. It was really good fun, and everyone was having a good time. We're in Swakopmund in Namibia. All the cast, and crew would hang out every weekend, and we all had birthdays on that film, and everyone would be together. But it was just parts of the filming for me were very difficult, and I would sit around some days for the whole day, and I would get a ride on the truck or a tracking vehicle, harness myself up, and I'd get 5 minutes at the end of the day for the last take, and it would end up being an image which is just absolutely stellar. So it was as much as Matt was saying that he doesn't like waiting around. For me, sometimes there's a lot of waiting around, and I just have to be patient. And I'm happy to walk away with one frame from the day, as opposed to filling up a card, and which I'm sure we all are. Well, I know we all are, but sometimes you actually do only get one crack at it. So
I remember the first time I walked away from a thing, and I literally hadn't shot a frame the entire day, and I thought the studio was going to fire me.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, okay, it happens."
Yeah, but if they don't see it, it never happened. That's how I look at it.
Exactly. Well, there's just like an entire day's coverage that just did not exist.
Yeah.
Is that my buddy Mandy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Mandy wanted a shot, and I put this in because I love Mandy. Mandy Walker's an Australian director of photography, and I did Mulan with her. And Hopper's done a couple of films, and I know. Has anyone else worked with Mandy?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I did Hidden Figures with her. She's spectacular.
Yeah. And she needed a shot, I think, she was doing a talk for Leica or Panavision, or maybe it was Panavision. And she wanted a shot, and I did this one day, and I got your shot. And she's like, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll email it to you tonight." And so she uses it for a lot of things, and I just like it.
Yeah, she's a little camera shy. So
Flair.
it's good getting a shot that she approves. She's a little camera shy.
Yeah,
she loves still photographers. She's just always very like, I don't know. There you go.
It's Matt.
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
No, that's why I put it in, because it's the Thrasher Mag.
Oh yeah,
t-shirt.
over there.
That's what I was doing. I went and put it in.
That's
it's
awesome.
like, hold on, I got a shot of Matt. But this is actually just testing for Nikon with the new Nikon, and it's. I mean, I just wanted to throw it in there, and skateboarding is, as Matt will tell you, shooting skateboarding, you're shooting blind most of the time. You're very rarely actually looking through the viewfinder, and this certainly wasn't. And people think that it's easy with a wide-angle lens, but as you can see, that's a full frame crop. So there's nothing more. And I don't miss the coping. I don't miss the other wheel. I think for me, it's got everything that I want. But Matt, you break it down skateboarding wise.
No, I mean, it's a great image. It's really hard to capture that kind of like the pinnacle of each trick or maneuver. A lot of times to shoot good skate photography, you either do it yourself or you're around it a lot, just like anything else. The timing, like the best part of the trick. Kind of like a scene, the best part of the scene that will make the best photograph.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great. Plus, I don't know, he looks like an older guy, so I love that.
I know, right? He's one of my boys. It's like when I had to test it, it was so funny. I was doing shooting Corey Creed, who's one of the X Games champs, and he holds the world record for quarter pipe on a motocross bike.
Oh, nice.
And so he said it all. He's like, "Yeah, Jace, come out and you can shoot all the stuff." And so I go out there, and he's like doing this promo for X Games, and he's on fire on a motocross bike, and he's doing these massive jumps and all this stuff. And I'm just like, this is so awesome. This is exactly what I need to test this camera. And he goes, "Oh yeah, you can't use anything until July."
Oh no.
So then I had to get on the phone to the boys, and it's like, "Oh, Glenn, can you get some of the team down?" And so Nick, this is Nick, and he's only had a baby, or his wife had a baby in the last couple of weeks. So it was his first night out skateboarding, and his first night he's let out. So it was kind of fun. So I ended up getting what I needed.
That's awesome.
And then, and this is from Extraction. Have you guys seen Extraction yet?
Yep.
Not yet. It's on my queue.
Yeah, it's really worth seeing. So this is just one I wanted to throw in a BTS, and as we were saying before, love a slate shot, and this is one of the greatest humans on the planet to work for, and he'll do anything for you if you ever. I know Hopper's worked with him, and
up there being one of the nicest guys in the world. Absolutely.
I did a movie with him before anybody knew who he was. It was my last big movie as a camera assistant. I did the first Star Trek with him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he was really nice, right?
Yeah, but nobody knew who this guy was. He's this tall, handsome Australian guy that was super sweet to everybody. And we're like, who is this guy? He worked for like 2 days, and then something else came out before Star Trek was released. So then people started to know who he was. But yeah, he was great.
Yeah, I love working with him. He's awesome, and I do like this shot. It's that second before action is called is almost when an actor's in their character the most, and I think that's probably why slate shots with actors work so well, because you're inside them.
Yeah.
It's the countdown to launch.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a great image.
Thanks, team.
He's squeezed right in there. Yeah.
I thought I finished.
Mulan.
So this is from Mulan, which was meant to have been out, and now it wasn't, and now it is soon. And this is our actress Ife Lu, who everything she did was like a dance, and I mean she's one fierce female, and we only shot this scene for like half a day or something. So, but to get an image like this, it was really cool, and it was not obviously, but it ended up being one sheet, and it's been used a lot, and there's a lot from this day actually. I can't say too much about the film because it's not out, but the image is out, and yeah, I like the energy to it. It's got poetry to the motion, and
the hair.
Yeah, you caught the hair, like it's in motion, but it's not unflattering. Like that's a tough moment to get to. So brilliant.
Her face, there's not some sort of weird smirk or grimace while she's moving. It's like it's solid.
Yeah. No, she's clearly worked in action before, because she's not messing up her face. She knows what's on camera.
Yeah.
Well, as you guys know, that is the key. It's like in action, it's like people got their eyes closed when the muzzle flash goes off, and these key moments are usually completely ruined just by a tiny artifact. So this was one that came together.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Nice job, man.
Team.
Yeah.
You know it's good.
So there you go. That was our 5 photo folio.
Boom. Thank you, Jasin Boland.
Yeah. Thank you, team.
Yeah,
that's fun though. God, 3 hours. I'm so sorry. I thought it'd be like so no, but they're fun doing these ones, right?
Yeah. No, this was a great time, man.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, good.
Thank you for having us again.
Yeah,
thank you.
My pleasure. And I need to have. In fact, I'm going to have all of you guys on. I'm going to do. Matt and Ron and I are going to do one as well. And Hilary, if you'll be so gracious, it'd be really cool to have a good chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do another one. I have to dig up some good images now.
No, I'm going to do singles.
Oh, cool. Yeah. No,
standalone.
I'd love to do one.
Standalone. Because then we can waffle on about, you can bring up some of your old skateboarding, some of your old action and stuff like that, and we can. Because my boys will love all that stuff,
Oh, awesome.
Me being the old crusty one, but
you're pretty good. Jason, I saw a video you shot of yourself skateboarding. I was pretty impressed.
Thanks, Ron.
Old guys rule.
That's right.
But 50-50s and 5-0s are about the limits of my tricks. Matt does real skateboarding.
I try. My son, he's a really good skateboarder, and he makes fun of me. Like, I had a really bad slam on our ramp a couple
we
months
don't need any hip replacement.
No, it was priceless, because the look on his face, like laughing at me, was just classic. Like, it was after "Are you okay, Dad?" And I was like, "No." Like, it hurt. It was like I slammed my hip right on the coping, like, really hard. So.
And then remind him one day when you are a grandfather and he's got his kids out and all that, and he does the same thing. Just remind him.
Yeah.
The slap on the coping is the worst. You'd rather fall back and hit your head than hip on the coping.
Yeah.
Oof.
And I don't know about you, Jason, but for me, like, the mind remembers, because I skated from when I was like 11 to into my 20s, and the mind remembers how to do everything, but my body's like, F you.
Yeah.
It's
For me, it was because I'm a little bit older. Skateboarding. Remember when skateboarding took that? It took a recess for about 5 to 10 years. It went totally underground. It wasn't really popular, and for us, we went into surfing, and the most we had when I was doing was a quarter pipe.
Okay.
So I missed out on all the parks and half pipes and everything, And so to get back into it really when I was 50 was really kind of fun, and I love it, and
Sure.
it keeps you young, right?
Absolutely. Definitely.
How old's your boy?
My son just turned 16 on Monday, so.
Oh, good age.
Yeah. Well, I'm the uncoolest guy he knows, and he's
like, what else do you have to do? You worked on Black Panther. What else do you have to do?
He's so unimpressed by any
I
of
know,
that.
it's
Like,
really fun.
Yeah, but all his friends think you're a freaking god, right?
I don't know. I never got any street cred with either one of my kids until I did Black Panther. Yeah. And
Really?
they
Fred's a
become
camera operator, got street cred for doing Alvin and the Chipmunks.
No, I mean, my daughter is 19, and I've been bringing them to set since they were, 2 years old.
Right.
And the only thing they ever cared about was where's the candy truck, where's craft service.
Right.
So it's all good. It's great. It's all good.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, team. Well, I'm going to I'll let you go. I'm going to do a sign off here.
All right.
Okay, team. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a lot of fun, and it's just so much fun. It's just nice having a social chat because we never really chat on. We don't ever get to work together.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Yes.
This is
All right.
being able to do it this way.
Ron,
It's
keep
fun.
making those good products. Keep using them.
Yes. Thank you. Please
Absolutely.
keep me out of the hospital. Thank you.
For your support. I really, I wasn't sure how I'd fit into this group because, you guys are all different vibe with how you shoot, what you shoot. But Jason brought me in, and I'm really glad I got to be a part of this today. Thank you.
No, we're glad to have you, man.
It was really cool seeing like the early sketches and stuff. Like,
Yeah, totally.
it's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Pretty wild to look back on stuff like that. Yeah.
I know.
I knew
Crazy.
I knew you'd have fun and fit right in. It's like
Yeah.
so. There you
Well,
go.
You guys are cool.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rod.
Appreciate
All right,
that.
team.
All right.
Thank
All
you,
right,
guys.
Good night, and I'll speak to you guys later. See you
All
soon.
right. Sounds good.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, man. Well, team, another great 5 PhotoFolio. Amazing. I mean, Hilary's work, Justin, Ron, Hopper, Matt, absolutely insane. So if you could, subscribe so you're in the loop, and do the bell so that next time you can be notified when we're going ahead with another 5 PhotoFolio. So have a good day. Cheers.